Hey, this is Oteil. If you're liking what you're hearing, head on over to patreon.com/comesatimepod and get your bus pass for an extra episode every week.
What's up, everyone? Skull and Roses is back. It's a 4-day festival exploring unique interpretations of Grateful Dead music and community that surrounds it.
The festival is entering its 4th installment and will take place at the Holy Grail of the West Coast Grateful Dead scene, the Ventura County Fairgrounds, California, from April 7th through the 10th, 2022.
And this year, the festival welcomes Grateful Dead bass player Phil Lesh, slated to appear as Phil Lesh and Friends, Dark Star Orchestra, Oteil and Friends, back for their 2nd festival appearance, and Melvin Seals and JGB back for their 4th appearance.
The lineup also includes acts like Jackie Green, Keller Williams, Circles Around the Sun, Midnight North, and Pink Talking Fish.
The festival will feature daily themes and parades, artisans, vendors, local beer and food, as well as daily yoga and sound healing experiences.
I want to get in on that.
Sound healing's awesome.
Head to skullandroses.com to purchase your weekend and single-day passes while supplies last.
And while you're on there, check out Wall of News, an exclusive content hub related to all things dead.
Also of note, our very own Osiris podcast, No Simple Road, will be there recording on-the-ground coverage and interviews. I did one with them last time I was there. So be sure to check out their socials and feeds to hear more about what's happening at Skull and Roses.
Again, head to skullandroses.com for tickets and go shake your bones.
At the same seaside site where 11 legendary Grateful Dead concerts took place from 1982 to 1987. We're keeping it going, y'all, best we can.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Comes a Time. That's Oteil.
And that's Mike. We got a good roller coaster ride for you this time. We have a Jembist. Djembe Fola, Weedie Braimah. Man, this cat, 111 generations of drummers direct down to him. And his mom and dad were both drummers. This cat is just some. Adam Deitch told me, he's like, you need to meet this dude. He's like, when Oteil and Weedie get together, it's going to be. And man, he's like a walking encyclopedia of African folkloric traditions. It's really stunning.
It's absolutely amazing. I remember early on in the pandemic, I hit you up and was like, give me something new to listen to. And you sent me a YouTube video of him. And I like fell deep into a wormhole, and just to be able to chat with him and to be excited. I'm going to be able to catch you guys playing live together April 5th and 6th at the Blue Note in New York.
Blue Note. Right
across the street from the Cellar in the VU where my home. So I'm so excited. And it was so, man, we have some certain guests where it's just, I get to sit here and go like, wow, I get to listen to this. And this was
every
one of them.
Every time I'm with him is like that. You just learn so much. And I'm just like, God.
Yeah.
He's amazing.
He's so full of life and full of energy and enthusiasm. And it's and he's hilarious. Absolutely really hilarious. Funny. So guys, support and he Time Magazine's top 10 albums of 2021.
Yes, number 7, Hands of Time. It's really, I remember one of the last times I was at a New Orleans Jazz Fest. This must have been before Dead and Company, actually, I'm thinking. Or was it after? Anyway, I went and I was seeing a bunch of stuff. I was playing a bunch of gigs. And Weedie's band was playing, I forget the name of the place now. But I went and saw it, and I was just like, oh my God, this is the best thing at Jazz Fest. Like, if anything, of all of it, big stages, little stages. He did this thing where he was singing these things. And like these ladies came up like towards the end of the concert, and I guess they were like the African dancers that were part of the group.
Uh-huh.
And they were at the front, and he was just calling these things, and it was like it was moving them like marionettes, like their hips and stuff. He just the drum would go, and and I was just like, "What is happening, man?" It was just so intense, and I was like, "That's the best thing at Jazz Fest."
God,
so I've just been
and
wait for these shows.
Yeah, and what's amazing here in that, and then also, if you guys go watch on YouTube videos of him playing after you listen to this, I mean, it's unreal. The thing, it's like, how is that coming out of two arms? But
it's
also,
a force of nature.
He really is. But then what he says in this, which makes me even more excited about Blue Note, is he's like, I haven't even able to play live because we've been locked down. So the energy he's gonna bring, it's 2 years of like inertia he's gonna punch through the drum, dude. Like, you know. So it's gonna be amazing. But check him out. Support Weedie. Thank you so much, Weedie, for coming on. I mean, that was so fun to listen to. I could listen to, I mean, God, hours and hours. But if you enjoy this, we've got a lot more over at Patreon. So head on over to patreon.com/comesatimepod. I've got stand-up dates at mikefinoia.com. Oteil's got a ton of dates coming up too at, is it oteilburbridge.com or oteil.com or?
Either one.
Perfect.
Whatever you put in, it's going to go straight to mine.
So check it all out. And thank you guys so much for listening. And thanks to Osiris for having us. And we'll catch you next time.
I like blue. The red is just for the album cover. Just don't let that fool up. But my favorite color is blue. My mother liked me in red.
For moms.
Yeah.
Let me straighten this out right at the top of the podcast, because I've been telling people all this, so I hope I haven't been lying this whole time. But right before I met you, Deitch was the one that said, "Man, you got to meet Weedie." I think he was the one that told me you're like all these generations on
drummers,
like 111 on one side and 69 on the other side or something.
Yeah, it's like on my father's side is 111 generation, right? But on my mother, all drummers, all musicians, all drummers for Royal Family. But on my mother's side, I'm 4 generations, and that's that's dealing with my grandfather, who I'm named after. So I'm my grandfather's namesake. His name was Nathaniel Weedie Morris, and everybody knew him as Weedie. Now, out of his family, they came from uptown, from New Orleans. Now, out of all 10 of those brothers and sisters, 5 of them were drummers. Weedie being the eldest and the first one to make it as a drummer in New Orleans, and who had traveled with Illinois Jacquet and a couple other people.
What?
And Oscar Peterson. Yeah, he was with Oscar Peterson.
What?
And the Big Bang. And he played with Jackie Davis on the Big Bang Hammond album. Yeah, you can look it up. And the youngest of the brothers being a man by the name of Leo Morris, that we all know as Idris Muhammad.
Wow.
My grandmother, my great-grandmother, his mother, Weedie's grandmother, used to get mad at my grandfather because he never allowed my uncle to play his drums. He said, "The little motherfucker can't touch my drums." So, and he said, "Now you can't do that now, Weedie. That's your baby brother." He said he got to get it on his own. And so what he used to do was he used to follow my grandmother to the old like the washing where they had the dryers, but it was a stump like the pressers, the old pressing dryers. So that's where he came up with his style. If you ever listen to the way he played, came from he imitated the pressers. That came from that. So one day he took it upon himself to play. You remember like Brothers, where he said, "Don't touch my drums, man." So one day he took it upon himself to play my grandfather's set he left at the house. And they got into a big fight. And it was at that point my granddaddy said, "The hell with this, I'm out." So him and Earl Palmer went, and they left New Orleans. They both went to Xavier together. So a little history.
Dude, people that don't know, it's okay. The history of drums in America, and then you got to go to New Orleans. Like Earl Palmer is like Abel.
Yeah.
Right?
One of probably the most
Abel.
recorded drummers. Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, man. Wow.
He told my mother, he says, "Ann, I owe Weedie a debt for the rest of my life." I told him I was gonna watch out for it. Because Earl Palmer used to be over the Musicians Union in LA back in the 70s. And so my mother was trying to go to LA as a drummer, a female drummer. And my granddad said, "Well, Ann, I ain't letting you go out there on your own." Because she was like, the hell with it. Her and a friend of hers named Daryl Finoia from East St. Louis were going to go and run to LA and become stars. So Daryl said, "Come on, Ann, let's go." And he said, "Okay, I want to go." So he said, "I'm not waiting for you, Ann." So he went on and went. Daryl Finoia ended up working and getting a gig later in his career when he became older with Michael Jackson. So all of the Live in Bucharest videos, he was with him. But in the 70s, when he went out there, he left before my mom and never turned back. He never turned back. So what he did was, my granddaddy was like, "Okay, well, I'm coming with you to LA, Ann. I'm gonna come to LA with you. I'm gonna come to LA with you. And when I come to LA, I got somebody you need to meet." And it was Earl.
Wow.
And Earl said, "I'm gonna set her up. I'm gonna make sure she's good. I'm gonna make sure she's straight. But she gotta stay out here." But she didn't do it. But there's more stories to come on this. So that's just beginning. But yeah, basically, both sides of the families are drummers. Is either being, all my life, for my little almost 40 years, come April 29th, my birthday, 40 years of my life has been dedicated to drumming. It could have been a cook, but I'll burn my damn food. But 40 years of my life was dedicated to drumming. You know what I'm saying? Both on the folklore.
That's just the story about your granddad. I don't know which granddad it was, didn't believe that women should drum. And then he met your grandma.
No, that's my mom and my dad.
Okay.
So the story goes. Now, so here's the whole story. I'm so happy you're saying this. So in 1978, 79, so 79 going into 80, a man was touring East St. Louis. And he was touring through East St. Louis. He went to St. Louis, which is right across the bridge from East St. Louis. It was a venue called the Kill Auditorium, right? At the Kill Auditorium, a gentleman that you probably heard of named James Brown was performing there, right? So James Brown is all part of this story. So this bear with me. It's a cool story. So James Brown was in town, and my grandfather, by that time, he had emphysema really bad. Couldn't play no more, and they had to take a lung out. But he was still around the drums, and he was still pushing my mother. So he said, "Ann, you gotta go. You gotta go." So she goes to the gig, sees James Brown, knew all his music. Now by this time, she says, that time you could go backstage. So she went backstage, and she had a small little line for autographs. So she found a way to finagle her way to the middle of it. So they won't be like, "After you," was out. So she found a way. 2 people after her, he cut it. So it got down to her. And he was like, "All right, baby, who I make this out? Give me a little stick." So she said, "No." She said, "I don't want your autograph. I want to play in your band." And he looked at my mama and said, "You want to do what?" She said, "I want to play in your band." So he's like, "I don't believe this." She said, "I can play anything your bandmates are doing and wear them out." And he's like, "You hear this shit?" He said, "I'll tell you what. All right, come on. So she goes to the side, and there was a guy there. He said, "Look, all right, that's it. I'm sorry, babies. I got to go." And she said, "You come back with me." So my grandfather and my mother, and there's one guy from Africa with his wife and 2 kids. So he said, "So you really can play?" He said, I got an idea. He said, "Well, I'm coming back here in 7 months. This man right here, his name is Mort Cham. He's a master drummer from West Africa, from Senegal. He's a djembe player. Now, this is where it gets deep. Now, he's not my dad, but he's really close to my father. And these is his wife, Kene, and these his two kids. His two kids was named Muhammad and Ali, and Aliun. Now, he worked for him 7 months and learned all the traditional stuff, blah, blah, blah. She goes and comes back. James Caesar, she sits in, turns it out. She said, all right, well, we got next 2 days, Indianapolis and so. You coming? You got the opportunity. She left. She did Indianapolis. She gets a call from my auntie, says, Daddy ain't doing good. He ain't gonna make it. She chooses. Do I stay and pursue my dream like my daddy want me to? Do I come back home? She comes back home just in the nick enough time. Christmas Day comes. My grandfather passes away. She's in a form of depression for a year because my grandfather's gone. She hasn't touched drums. So my grandmother went to a church called St. Joseph's. At that church, there was a lady named Vera Bowden. Vera says, hey, Mom, how's Ann doing? She said, well, she ain't been doing good, dealing with my husband passing, her dad. She said, well, tell Ann this African man coming to town. I know she worked with more charm and all that type of stuff. And she was watching the kids and watching more charm play while the kids was drumming with her. And I'm going to tell you who these kids are, which is going to freak you out. Say, tell her to come. She said, I'll get her to try to come. So she goes, and this guy by the name of Oscar Sule Braimah, phenomenal composer, arranger, and drummer from Ghana, West Africa, working with the Lincoln Senior High School Jazz Band under the direction of the saxophonist Ron Carter. At this time in the early 80s, at 81, that was the #1 jazz school for young Black children in the United States as a high school. I mean, that's where Russell Gunn, Montez Coleman,
Russell from Atlanta.
Exactly. Russell Gunn, Montez Coleman. What's my man that played drums? Charles Haynes. All came from that school, from Lincoln. So my daddy is in there showing this style of music, high life music, but playing futuristic jazz, high life mix. And the horn parts was unreal and the rhythms are unreal. And he was like, okay, drummer, you don't get it. Who's working? Ron, who's working with the drummer? I need someone who can work with the drummer. What's the drummer? And they say, the drummer's coming. So the drummer's having a problem. So he said, where's the drummer? So finally, this woman walks in and they say, the drummer just got here. The instructor, the assistant, where is he? No, it's not a he. Her. Woman? No. He said, he did it just like that. Now, all these young girls that was in there that was singers and was playing trombone and trumpet, and he said, and just so you guys can know what means. Means in African vernacular, you ain't shit. So if African man tell you, oh, it's over with. So he saw her, he says, no way. So he says, oh, you play drums, eh? Okay, so I will show you, okay, this is the part. We call this rhythm blue beat. I make it. It's a mixture of jazz and panlogo. You know panlogo? My mom said, hell no. She said, okay. She said, you have to play left foot plays 1, 2, 1, 2, Your foot says, gugun, gugun. The left hand says, ping, kaka, ping, kaka. The right hand says, all at the same time. If you can do it, then I know you are a drummer. But the funny thing was that he had met nobody to do it, not even nobody in Africa. So he started like, she's not going to be a player. And I know what she said, okay. And his first mouth said, woman. From that day, and I tell people all the time, I'm not here because a man fell in love with a woman because they was pretty or was beauty. I'm here because of love of music, which is a different form of love. My existence is a love between two people who saw music as their deity, their way of life, the essential fact of their being, their heart, their spirit, their whole entity was music. Yeah. So for me, I don't, it wasn't like my mom used to say, it wasn't like, I was in love with your daddy because it was ugly as hell, He said, but it was one of the most beautiful men I've ever met because his knowledge of music and the way he saw music and the way he fell in love with music. It was almost like I could see your grandfather. It wasn't like a love, because she was a drummer. She understood what the heart of what music was. And at that time, you didn't see that many women drummers. You didn't see it. And so when my father would tell me, he would say, Anne was not from this planet. Oh, she can swing, she can play funk, she can play African music, but she can understand everything I do. She said, I never met a human being like that. She said, that's why you are you. Had it not been for that, you would have been somewhere cooking burger or something. He laughed. He tells the truth. So, but remember I was telling you about the little babies that the djembe player that my mother was working with for 7 months.
Oh, wow.
I remember with James Brown. You know who the kid was? It was two kids named one boy named Muhammad Cham and the other kid named Aliun Cham. Aliun Cham is known. It was a great djembe player. He was the son of Mocham, but his name is Akon. Are you familiar with him? The rapper?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Akon grew up in East St. Louis. His father was brought to the United States because of Catherine Dunham, the great choreographer and dancer. Exactly. Yeah. So that's one of the things for years I worked with this man and I worked with this group of people. And I must say, I talk about Catherine Dunham because if it wasn't for Catherine Dunham, there wouldn't be no djembe playing in America because of Catherine Dunham and Harry Belafonte, because they were able to bring this narrative of African ideology and thinking from West Africa to the United States. So I always honor them when I talk about the history of folkloric music in America, particularly really about djembe music because of Harry Belafonte's connection with Guinea, with bringing the National Ballet of Les Ballets Africains to the UN. He had a hand in that, as well as the relationship between Catherine Dunham having a hand from this festival in Senegal in 1964 called Festman, with Catherine Dunham, Harry Belafonte, Alvin Ailey, Judith Jameson.
Judith Jameson. Oh, she was
all
my
was
hero,
at this
man.
festival. It was the first ever Pan-African festival that was created at that time. So I must say, I always must pay homage to that. So I love telling that story because it's a lot. But that's my mom and my daddy. My mama, if she was alive and my dad was alive, they would always laugh and say, no woman can play like Anne. No woman. I tell you straight. And even that's why I must say my little sister, one of my close friends, Nikki, was very tight with my mother. She's like, yo, Weedie, your mother was nothing to play with. Even for her last days on this earth, she knew drums. She knew the conversation and the vernacular, how to make the narrative come out into whatever style of music and what she was trying to convey to come out. She was very powerful,
You talking about Nikki Glaspie?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she came on the podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
amazing.
I know Nikki well. 5 years, in 5 years as a member, 5.5 years, almost 6 years as a member of the Nth Power. Rain, sleet, and snow.
Yeah.
That's a whole other relationship when you love someone but you respect the hell out of them. That's a whole other thing, man. I've loved a lot of women. My wife is in healthcare, and I once snuck into the intensive care with donuts and coffee for her and the other nurses to just and I wasn't supposed to be up there. It was a locked unit, and I said, "Where's Lisa?" And they pointed, and I went over and I looked through the window at what she was doing. And I thought she was checking pulses and, replacing water bottles and stuff. But no, someone had just woken up out of a coma and realized they weren't going to walk, and she had to deal with all of it. And I'm eating donuts in the hallway, watching her oh my God, this is what she does. And it gave me such I respected her before that, but oh my God, to to see the things that she does and to experience it, watch it, it's like that's a whole other level of respect.
Yeah, that's reality. That's what we call reality.
Yeah.
And for music, that's what we call the now. That's the now. Because relationships like that don't span that much. There was a movie I watched that where people watched it, they said this is the most cheesiest shit, corniest shit I ever watched. It's called August Rush. I watched that movie and I teared up because the fact of what brought them together is what the essential idea of what they looked at each other, the music. It wasn't like you're a beautiful person, you know what I'm saying, or you got this nice leather jacket, you got this body and these muscles. No, it was about the music, the art of what makes a human being the human being musically is what connects the people that are supposed to be connected. So that's the reason why I think the way I think, I walk the way I walk, I eat, I think music the way I do, because it's because of them. And they learned it from their father's father's father. You know what I'm saying? So
that's so beautiful.
Yeah. I really want to, I want to get you on my educational app. Teach the rhythm. But I also want to start learning the folkloric tradition, the spiritual, the religious part of it. It seems you have this knowledge that spans many, many countries in Africa. Man. I hear you talk about the folkloric tradition. It just seems like, and it carries you like a passport to Cuba, Brazil, Haiti, the South America, Central, all over the planet.
Yeah,
it's like a passport.
It is. It really is. I mean, hell, it's one passport that I can use now. It wasn't that much of a passport in the 1700s, but
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, but I look at it like now that people can see sometimes the understanding how the song was born. If you look at how the music emotionally has changed throughout folkloric realms to certain realms that deal with, forced ideas and forced ideologies, you know what I'm saying, to create a new narrative. It's very unique. It's very deep. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you look at blues, you look at jazz, you look at rumba, you look at panlogo, you look at all these different rhythms. Some of these rhythms weren't created because cats were happy.
Yeah.
Right. I did a workshop a long time ago, and one of the things I said was the mindset on 1 and 3 and 2 and 4. And it's so deep because we don't realize, certainly being an African American in this country, and for me, it's really unique to be born in Ghana and raised in America. Emotionally, the house where we felt music was different because I was taught rhythms because this represented X, Y, and Z. So we were playing for harvest. We know how to play this for harvest. This is played for this part, from the morning to the afternoon to the evening, from when we grab all the food and the musicians are accompanying the harvest, the syndicates. We take all of what we took from what we've harvested that day and bring it back to the granary, and everybody that has worked will eat and pass it along to their friends, etc. But there's rhythms to accompany that. So where you accent when you work for a reason, for community and for health and for happiness and for sharing and for the understanding of what a syndicate is different when you're playing or if you're forced to work.
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
So the accent, good example. We have an instrument that's we have a work device that we all know as the guard, the hoe, the till the ground, right? We till the ground. But when the drummers would accompany, the djembe folks would accompany the syndicates, the farmers, where we would accent, where they would work wouldn't be like, it would be to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. The accent is on the 1 and the 3. A lot of people say, man, it ain't African on the 1 and 3. Well, that's bullshit, because that's where we accent at. Now, here's where we flip. The difference is when we was working in the United States And when the chain gangs and the different working and the different heel hollers, the accents was what? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Huh.
Emotionally.
Yeah. It had
what I tell people is that what you're hearing is not just a joy in music. It's also a form of creating a new voice through pain and which from that sadness we created an happiness.
That's alchemy right there.
That's a form of alchemy.
That was like laughing to keep from crying.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what it is.
Keep from dying.
And from dying. Because if you didn't work, you was beat or dead. So when those people and then when they start singing, the accents was different than what the accents was back home. Emotionally different. So your connection to what you're eating is emotionally different than the connection of what we were eating for joy, for happiness, for New Year, for new crop, blah, blah, blah. We're eating to survive. So the nutrients that we are losing from the happiness of what we till the ground, from the happiness from when we work to fill, has lost. But what gave us a new form of nutrients and strength is the what? The music.
Yes. That's why, when I got down south, I couldn't leave. I still haven't because it was getting that part, the old gospel stuff, the old blues stuff, the old jazz. You got to go to New Orleans, because Black people had drums there where they took them away elsewhere, and it's deep, man. That's so funny you say that because I've been thinking a lot about just like what would have happened if slavery hadn't happened. Like you wouldn't have any gospel, blues, funk, jazz, country, or bluegrass, right?
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't have anything that we have without this horrible thing. It was like transmuted and still being transmuted because it's not over.
It's a brilliancy.
Yeah.
It's the deepest thing to say there's a brilliancy behind this havoc, behind this hurt, behind this inhumane crisis. It's a brilliancy that happened behind it. That show you the brilliancy of a people who were able to triumph through all kind of bullshit.
The worst kinds, yeah.
And the worst kind. And then look at the music that's being able to create and look at the faces and the places and it went back. And I think that's the deepest part. It went back.
Yeah.
It went back. And that's why people like my dad was really a trip. I mean, and I love the blood that runs through my veins. I'm beyond honored. I don't know how the hell I get blood from New Orleans. I don't know how the hell I get blood from Ghana, from the two heaviest places that represents it. For me, I'm like, hey, I'm that motherfucker. I'm gay. Don't joke. It's in my blood, not just to really be like, but I say that with honor, as an honorable thing, because when you look at the culture you look at, the Maroon Indians, when you look at the Maroon Indians, dealing with the Wild Chapatulas, Yellow Pocahontas, all the Black Maroon Indians that's in New Orleans, that was part of the, enslaved Africans that were able to keep the traditions from Africa and the indigenous people and combine them. That's something deep. When you look at second line culture, when you look at Congo Square, when you look at the Treme, when you look at Baby Dosh, who was able to create a drum set on what they had, this is brilliant.
Yeah. We went to, me and my wife went to this thing called the Gathering of Nations. It's the largest.
We played it with Empower.
Yeah. So when I went there, New Orleans is my thing. And I found out, I think it's my great-great-grandmother is born and raised in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, it is in my blood, When I got there and I saw all the, they have the competition for dress and for dance. Mm-hmm. And when I saw all the Indian fashion, I was like, oh my God, it just like immediately made me think of New Orleans. And it was like, well, of course, all those blacks and Indians met and mixed together. And that's how you got it's exactly the same. It's just got this like African take on it.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean,
they should come to the gathering,
Yeah, man. They were able to leave and find, refuge with the indigenous people there. They were able to connect with them, share stories, share traditions, and they had to hide. So the ones that they thought was indigenous, and the one they didn't know that wasn't indigenous were truly indigenous. So it was like, well, who the hell is? They didn't know. So that was the beauty behind it.
It was all mixed together. Yeah,
it was all together, and so that's why to find that culture. And every year around carnival time, you're gonna see these different indigenous maskers, these Afro-indigenous maskers, to come out and show how pretty and beautiful they are with their beadwork. And the beadwork, now that's the deepest thing, where you can see the beadwork, the lineage from Benin and from Nigeria, from Yoruba and Fang people, who are the keepers of beadwork. That's why you can see it in Old Hispaniola, in Haiti, in Benin, as well as in Nigeria. So that's why, I mean, when I first went, I was like, this is the most amazing thing to see, that Africa is definitely alive in this country, in the city of New Orleans. I don't even think New Orleans is a part of the United States. I think it's its own country.
That's how I look. I've said that forever. I was like, there's no place in this country, and every city's different. I know every place is unique.
Yeah, but
New Orleans is a carve out. It's like completely
so unique,
different.
New Orleans is his own place. You don't get no deeper than that place.
Yeah, there's something like that. It's a confluence, like with Haiti and Cuba. I want to have this guy on, Ned Sublette, on the podcast.
Oh, Ned! Look, Ned. I know Ned well. He's a great guy, and they'll tell you there's a relationship between Cuba, New Orleans, and Haiti that's very profound.
He dropped some deep stuff. I clipped it out. Just I shot a video of a YouTube video because I was watching him do this long talk, and he said something so deep, because I've been trying to tell people this. The condition in Haiti right now is not a mistake. It's on purpose, and this country has a huge hand in the economic warfare that has historically and still to this day been perpetrated on it. But Ned Sublette hit on why. It's because that slave revolt in Haiti shook this whole hemisphere.
Shook the French, shook the hell out of the French.
Well, the thing is, I didn't know that Ned Sublette said, he said a very small portion of slaves were in the United States. Like really small. Like the most of them were elsewhere. In Haiti, he said there's east and west part of Haiti. One side was the rebellious side. They were the ones that overthrew the French, right? And then they went to, or it was the east and west side of Cuba. He said the side of Cuba that they went to is the side of all the like revolutionary ones.
That's right now.
And the other side is their children. So they knew, like, this has to be stamped out, because these people will not stop. They will kill you and they will revolt. And so it's a depression that's kept on them so that they won't rise up and do it again.
They had a lot of spiritual warfare with them too. Yeah, let me tell you.
And they knew it. They knew it. Because I asked somebody, I was like, how did Castro stay alive? And they said he had protection. How do you have a little teeny island, man?
Let me tell you.
Facing down the biggest country in the world like this for like 45 years, just like one president after another. You. People come at you. Like, how do you do that?
Man. I mean, people don't realize, when you talk about the Great Revolt, when the Haitians fought back and won. Toussaint Overture, man. When Toussaint won, they had unforeseen forces working on their behalf. When you go and see Benin and see the history of the Benin And why Benin is probably one places that still has 80% of their traditional way of life, traditional belief system still going. And the rest is like, 70% is rest Christianity and Islam. That's amazing. Because guess what happens? In West Africa, there's maybe in Ghana, I can speak for Ghana, 70% Christian or 60% Christian, 20% Islamic, and the rest is folkloric traditional belief systems out. But everybody still believes so it's like it's 60% Christian, 20% Islamic, and the rest traditional belief. But we don't want to say that everybody is 100% the traditional belief, because they'll do X, Y, and Z and like, okay, I got my mega church. Let me go to the shrine and ask, can I get more people? I've seen it out of my own eyes.
Yeah.
I've seen it out my own eyes. And the priest said, yeah, I know Pastor so-and-so. Yeah, they come here for all they ask to get their questions answered. And they ask for protection, and they ask for the shrine to give them big people so they can make big money. Yeah, and the shrine do its work. We know. And they'll be like, yeah. You see this guy? He's big pastor. I'm like, what? Yeah, watch. They go in the back. He comes back. Oh, thank you. I was like, are you serious? Yeah, he says, Weedie. You think? I tell you, this country, everybody's traditionalist. They just won't tell you.
It's funny that's where my African drum teacher is from. Is from Ghana.
Yeah.
Kojo Baden.
Kojo Baden.
It's crazy, man. Like, so I was 7 years old when I met this cat. And so that would be, I was born in 64. So that's like 71.
Wow.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Weedie's like, yeah, I don't Kojo.
Kojo Baden. Yeah. Kojo. Me and my good friend Atiba Roy was talking about Kojo Baden. That's part of history. Kojo Baden, Sakakwe, Chief Bey, Babatunde Olatunji, Tawel Shabazz, Montego Joe, Laji Kambra, Morcham, Baba Ishangi, Moses Miones. All these people are legendary folkloric drummers who are able to create the new narrative in this country from the 60s to now.
Yeah.
So those are legends. I mean, you have to know them and you have to honor them. There's a song on my album where I give praise to a lot of those people who have left. It's called Sworn to the Drum. It's probably, for me, one of the most intense songs I've ever created and worked on and played. Because to have those names and to be on those shoulders, to be on those shoulders, that's a lot of spirit, man. Because those people, they weren't like they were drummers in Africa. They were drummers, folkloric drummers in America when they were regaining an identity that was taken from them. And they were able to do that during the time where there was a lot of, that's why in the 60s and 70s, what was the one thing you saw at a lot of rallies? A photo of a drum. Because it was the one thing they knew that unified people, unified a group of people. And that's why you always had drummers. Kojo Baden, Sakakwe, Chief Bey, Nana Dini Zulu, Larak Bey, all these people were very influential of the sounds that we have now, whether you want to believe it or not. That's why Olatunji, and I'm so honored to say, Olatunji was the first artist to sell that many copies of his album in the 60s.
Drums of Passion, boy.
Drums of Passion, baby.
It was in our house. I was like a Bible in our house, man.
In the 60s.
Yeah.
You name me another African artist who was selling that many albums in the 60s. I'll wait.
It's crazy, man. Yeah.
What I love about what you've done with that album is that it's going back and forward at the same time. Mm-hmm. You include so much modern and futuristic sound, and you've got your finger on both pulses at the same time, and it's really powerful to listen to. What's up, everybody? This is Mike, and today's show is sponsored by Sunset Lake CBD, a Vermont hemp farm crafting affordable CBD products designed to help with stress and sleep without breaking the bank.
Sunset Lake CBD is a majority employee-owned hemp farm located just outside of one of our favorite places, Burlington, Vermont. For years, Sunset Lake was a dairy farm producing milk for Ben & Jerry's ice cream. We had them on the podcast. In 2019, they diversified and started growing hemp for CBD.
And Sunset Lake CBD crafts products with hemp grown on their family farm and ships them directly to the customer, cutting out all the cost associated with getting on the shelves at stores. They have CBD products for every occasion and offer tinctures, salves, edibles, coffee, smokables, and even for that anxious dog of yours, they have pet products.
Ooh, I need to get some for my dog that's barking all the time. But I'll tell you this, I use these. The Sour Bears.
So good.
They are CBD gummies. I literally, no joke, I take these every night. They help me sleep. And it's almost bedtime.
Yep. And I still, as said it before, I'll say it again. You go to a long show, you come home, my 42-year-old ankles are not what they used to be. And I rub that salve all over them and put them up, enjoy a nice cocktail, and just let it ooze right into those sore bones. And you know what, folks? All you Comes a Time fans, if you check them out at sunsetlakecbd.com and use promo code TIME, T-I-M-E, you'll get 20% off all products. That's sunsetlakecbd.com. Use promo code TIME, 20% off all products. Sunset Lake CBD, farmer-owned, Vermont-grown. Thank you.
Get you some. Now, you made Time. Tell us about the Time magazine.
Yeah,
Now, let me tell you
congratulations.
Let me tell you about Time magazine. That shit came out of nowhere. That blew the whole band away. It was a Saturday evening. I was in Ohio, where I'm at now. I wasn't in New Orleans. I was in Ohio, and me and my wife she had went down the street to go to I think it was during the time of Yom Kippur. They had a celebration. She went down the street, and I was here at the house. And we have the band, the Hands of Time, have a group text, and my guitarist, Sam Dickey, is an amazing guitarist and Goni player. He has a Google alert on my name. So he says, "Bro, look." And I looked. Time Magazine's top 10 albums of 2021. And I saw the same little photo in the back behind me in the corner. And I said, ain't no fucking way. That's the first thing I said, ain't no way. Magazine. So then I'm like, Otil, I'm thinking it's Time of Essence. Like the knockoff of Time. Like, this is Time of Essence. And I said, okay, let me look up Time Magazine.
The Black Time.
The Black Time. I'm thinking, it can't be Time. I'm thinking Time of Reality. Time is now. You know what I'm saying? I think I want to see somebody like that. And then I go, and I looked up, let me look up Weedie Braimah Time Magazine. First team, Weedie Braimah, number 7. I said, no fucking way. Okay, I'm bugging. Let me just go on Time Magazine. If this is the same font from the Time that I see over here, I'm going to scream. Same damn thing. Then I said, top 10 albums of 2021 Time Magazine. Boom, the same thing I said. Now, it may be too intense. I was using the toilet at the same time. So now, getting that type of news and taking the shit is like, I'm sorry, it's a lot, but
the truth is the truth.
The truth is the truth. And I'm like,
now you can't jump up.
I had to make sure my stomach was cool. I had to make sure I wipe and wash and make sure my mind was all together. Because that's a giveaway, no wash, no wipe. That's a good no wipe. That type of, that type of, that type of news is a no wiper.
Hell yeah. That's when you run back in. You go, I forgot something. Out,
and then you start to, when you walk and you slip on yourself. But, so I'm looking like, this is the real thing. So I'm like, oh my God, okay, I can't believe. I'm sitting there like, oh my God. So the phone is going off the hand of the group text. Are y'all seeing this? Are y'all seeing it? I say, Tilly, did you see this? I call my good friend, Christian, formerly known as Christian Zion Atunde Ajwa, great trumpeter, which we all know. I called him. I say, bro, did you see this? He says, Weedie, we need to call this is beyond what you think. So I want to tell Time Magazine, thank you for not being Time of reality and actually being Time. And it was probably one of guys that was probably one of the greatest surprises that I think I could ever see. And I was right by, I think Kanye West Donda was number 6. But the fact of the matter that I made as a djembe player to be considered in Time Magazine, which is probably one of the most historic magazines of our time. I mean, presidents was in that magazine, I mean, and now when I look at that as a djembe fola and for my culture as a djembe player in the African folkloric realm around the world, that was a plus for us. That was basically telling the world that this instrument has its true voice in modern music, in society. We're no longer the last ones hired and the first ones fired. We're no longer this is a bongo. Everything is a bongo. This is an instrument that has a voice. I mean, you can't no longer say percussionist Weedie Braimah. You can, but if you're going to call me percussionist, you would have to call Corey Henry a percussionist. You have to call Robert Glasper a percussionist. You call Nigel Hall a percussionist because they're all pianists, which are what? A part of the what family? Percussion family. So you have to call the instrument its name and give it its just due and say djembe fola or djembist, as Glide magazine says.
Djembist.
Djembist.
I like it.
That's kind of neat.
Call me a djembist. I ain't never heard that. I'm djembist. But djembe fola, djembe player Weedie Braimah has been able to cross out. I was able to open a door for young djembe folas around the world.
That's
not
amazing,
just African American djembe folas, not just African djembe folas, but djembe folas from all different realms, colors, and creeds. They were able to see that it is possible to use this instrument and use your voice and go break it down. And that's what happened. So for me, I'm beyond grateful and honored about that. I mean,
and well deserved. Man, it's a phenomenal album.
Yeah, it is, man. There's some beautiful, beautiful stuff. It is very forward, ancient futuristic music, man. It's
timeless,
bullseye, dude.
But it's everywhere at the same time. And it's
I'm telling you, man, I was trying to go somewhere. I mean, and Otil, with traveling with Otil, I'm telling you, and I got to thank you, brother. Otil, I really thank you. Because, I mean, a lot of times, Otil is probably one of the greatest, hands down, the greatest bases of our time because his insight of the instrument is not just playing; it's emotional, it's spiritual. It's be able to convey his emotions at the moment on the instrument, and a lot of musicians can't do that. I can count on one hand how many musicians can convey their emotion, and you as a person, a spectator or a fellow musician on stage with him can feel and hear and understand that, digest that. Not that many musicians can do that. Roosevelt Collier is another one that can do that. Corey Henry is another one that can do that. Because you got to realize it takes a form of pain to go there and happiness. Not just pain, but happiness. But
well, it's that same, the same joy and pain. It's just together. The yin and yang.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so for me, to be able to create this and to have musicians around you that can teach you this is different. So Otil, I say thank you for that, bro, because that album was a lot of emotion that I poured from my life as a djembe fola, not be able to be either accepted, or now that I've accepted it and now everybody knows the name of Weedie Braimah being the percussionist or the djembe player, but not just looking at me as a djembe fola, but as a composer, as a band leader, as a person that wants to use this instrument as a melodic instrument,
Oh, it is, dude.
And it is. And it is. And a lot of people don't realize that album was that story. Every song was in the order of how the life to this point went. From Full Circle to Weedie Foley to Express Train to Bamako to Sako Dougal, which got nominated for Best Jazz Soloist along with myself and Christian Scott Atunde Adwa, Zion Atunde Adwa, my brother.
Nice.
So, I mean, all of those songs were a part of a story in my life. And it kept emotionally, I wanted to take the listener on a roller coaster where tears, happiness, laughter, confusion, hurt, pain were all in there. It was like this. Yeah. But they never left folkloric music, and they never left that the djembe is the one that's leading them. And that was my job for this album. And so far, so great. And I thank God for that.
Can you talk about some of the musicians on this album, man? Because there's some heavy players on it, like Jake. I got to get with him, man. I need to study.
Oh, look, so check it out. And I want everybody to hear this. Come April 5th and 6th, the two towers will meet. And I cannot wait, because I talk to Sheck and Doy almost every other day. And, I have an impression I do of him. I don't want him to hear this, but I have to do it. Hey, man. Yeah. Hey, Weedie, how's Otil? Man, I can't wait to play with Otil, man. Weedie, I can't wait to play with him, man. And, the conversation of how he's this eager to play. And it's like a true joy. So shout out to Sheck and Otil, because I can't wait. Because the Weedie Foley, which we played it, I'm shutting up. Okay, so some of the guests on the album. Some of the guests on the album, I must shout out the band, starting off with Sheck and Doy. This is my Ngoni bassist. Sam Dickey on guitar and Ngoni, Raja Kassis, Munir Zaki on the sangba set, Luke Coranta on Dunu set, Shea Pierre on keys, Courtney Smith formerly of the Nth Power, which is the original member of KP, my old band, on keys. The guest was unreal. I have from the States, I have Christian Scott Atunde Adwa. I have Trombone Shorty. I have Corey Henry, Mumu Fresh.
Who was playing flute on?
So now I'm about to get to Elena Pindy.
Man, she is bad.
Elena Pindy Hughes is probably one of the greatest artists of our time. Currently, she works with Christian Scott, along with she works with Herbie Hancock. She's been playing with Herbie as well.
She's bad, dude.
Like my brother say, you would have to skydive to find somebody that's amazing. So, I mean, you have him, Pedrito Martinez, Osain Del Monte, Alain Perez, Basili Kone, Petita Damajara, Terrence Martin.
Yeah.
I mean,
you got
all these people. It was unreal.
Wow.
Unreal. And the list goes on and on and on and on. So it's one of those albums that I know it's this for me. And someone told me this and it broke me down to tears. He said, brother, you did your Drums of Passion in the year 2020.
You did, man.
He said you did.
Man. I've told so many people that.
Yeah.
For me, I just feel like I did with my soul. But to hear one of my close friends who I respect very heavily as a musician to tell me that, it brought me to tears. It makes me teary-eyed now because I don't see it, but because it's a legendary album. But I don't think. I think God had a plan to get all these people together.
Yeah, it will be known. It's ahead of its time.
I cannot wait to be in that room at the Blue Note too, of all places too. Such a special.
And we can't
room.
even tell the secret about who's coming.
Oh yeah, so it's some secrets coming out. Oh Lord, it's some secrets coming out, man.
Y'all better be there. Blue Note.
It's the I still was like, yo,
I hadn't even posted it yet. I'm gonna post that. I was playing this Weedie Foley.
Oh my God.
I'm gonna post it real soon.
That's so amazing. So look, Otil, this is so cool. So you guys get to hear the behind the scenes of what's happening. So this is gonna be the first time we played it.
Really?
We ain't never played it live. Because hell, we've been locked down.
Of course. Duh. Of course.
So it's very cool because now we're playing it instrumental because we have the great Hatuma Sila singing and my sister and good friend, Miss Mumu Fresh, aka Mamuna Youssef. So they won't be there, but one may be there, one may not. Who's to say? But to play it instrumentally with this band was really cool because it shows you how off these musicians in my band are because they was like, oh, we can try this, man. I'm like, now, wait a minute now. My idea is to, not to go to the cosmos on the second or the third song of the album. I mean, on the show. We got to let it breathe. So I was like, look, man, the third song of the
those
show.
Those buildings are old in the West Village. You got to go easy on those bricks, man.
No shit. So, yeah, Weedie Foley is a special song because it's the first song that was brought back to Africa on the folkloric realm. It's not traditional djembe rhythm in West Africa. It's not. Exactly. So when we were in the studio, I had the baddest djembe players of our time all together, Basidi Kone, Petita Damajala. And we in the studio and they say, Weedie, say quiet. What is the time? The time? What's the time? And I showed him, he says, oh, and to hear Malian say shit, Sha. Oh. Oh, Weedie. Here? No. So we was in there, they were playing this groove, and when the groove finally became solid, where they accented the phrasing was if I was playing a traditional rhythm from Mali. But the idea was to take elements of that traditional rhythm that what you could play, whether it's Sunu, whether it's Sunu, Didadi, Madang, and put the emotion behind them, but play the narrative that comes from this culture, this side of the water.
Yeah.
And blend those two ways. That means that if it's a lady from Mali and a lady from East St. Louis both dancing together, they will be able to move. And not that you would just be seeing dancing. You'd be like, okay, they dancing, but you wouldn't realize is that they're both dancing in harmony, not dancing. This is where we feel the groove. No, this is where it is. There's no war. So it's basically another water.
Oh. Yes, that's it, man. It's a solution. It's the solution. Maybe that's why war is so different in Africa, because everybody's grooving together.
Oh, yeah, that's the cool. When we put with someone may put juju somebody, then after that, if you don't die, come back. You don't die. Okay, well, okay, we're fine. Moving on. Big party.
It's obviously like when you think about like that whole like the danger of one story, that's the thing I think about when like folks like people who were raised to appreciate folklore and appreciate culture and appreciate learning from your neighbor instead of going, they don't think like we do, so they're wrong. That's how this continues, right? I mean, that's the thing that's so important. That's what I always was so fascinated by with Native American literature and Native American stories. And like you said earlier, there's always a drum when you show those moments. There's always a drum. I was watching something recently about I believe it was right around the Grand Canyon, and they're putting in all of these, uranium, like they're destroying the land essentially around the Grand Canyon. And there was a group, I'd say maybe like 5 or 6 native folks there, and one was playing a drum and 4 were dancing, and the grandmother said, "We're doing this because when we stop doing it, it stops.
It's over."
And that's it. It's just over. And it's like, wow, like that to hear that and see it is such a sobering, like, how many times has that happened? God.
And that's the biggest thing to say. I'm doing this song, Weedie Foley, because if we don't create so think about it.
Yeah.
If you don't continue a narrative, what happens? There's a new narrative, right? And the past narrative that we was thinking stops unless you create 2 things: a form and a fashion to keep tradition going, and a form and fashion to evolve the tradition that you're learning. The kids in certain neighborhoods may not know what Sogolon is or Sungurubani. They may not know, but they learn Weedie Foley, which then would potentially lead them to Sungurubani, Didadi. Because guess what? If I was, and I did this at a school, I did a workshop at a Q&A at a school, high school, and the kids was like, okay, cool. This guy about to come up there and play some bongos. So at the end of the day, they learned about the instrument and the name X, Y, and Z, and then I played the album by Weedie Foley. I wanted to see the middle section, how it was going to hit them. And I'd be damned. From the first drop, I thought they was going to be like, oh, this is cool. From when the drums came in, the folks was like, this go hard. But when the beat dropped and we used the calabash instead of a beat machine, the whole room lost it. I said, damn.
Wow.
Because, it's showing that it's connected. It's showing the kinship of the music. And so I wasn't expecting them to go crazy when the rhythm dropped the first time. But when they dropped the first time they lost it, I said, and then in my mind, I was like, if they dropping it for this, they about to lose their fucking mind. I am. And just so everybody knows, if you listen to Weedie Foley, there's a middle section where the beat drops and you hear a hip hop groove on top of what we're playing. We're not using any fake machine instruments. All of those are folkloric drums. We use a calabash and claps to drop the beat.
Wow.
Because I said I want to keep it traditional, what I'm saying? And shout out to my amazing little brother and producer who was a part of the production on that, which was Munir Zaki. He is a problem.
Man,
dude. He is a true problem. So, I mean, he has a lot of amazing albums out. So, but for the work he did on that song, I can do nothing but, and I can honestly say we came together. When I said I wanted to do it like that, he says, that's it, Weedie. Now we'll see the reaction. And when you get the children to react like that, culture will never die.
That's right.
As long as the water flows and the grass grows, culture will never die.
Yeah.
Man, how many different languages do you speak through this folkloric tradition? Because it seems like it's many different countries.
Let me tell you something. It's what was spoken in around my father's house was Ghana. Of course, English, French from traveling with the members from the National Ballet of Senegal and National Ballet of Guinea, Malinke or Meninka Kang, to get me where I needed to go when I'm in Mali. Wolof, thanks to my wonderful wife, Talise, from years before. I was always infatuated with the music of Youssou N'Dour and Baba Mal.
Dudes, yeah.
Yeah. So just being able to learn the words from singing them for years and find concept, the connection between words and how they are using them in traditional ways. Because a lot of people learn languages, but they don't realize when you learn a language, the vernacular of that language is connected to its music. And not just because you're singing a song. Folkloric music, you have to be able to play the language of the instrument, drum per se, and speak the language of the people. So when we play certain phrases in Ghana, we know how to play to make the people give us money. We know how to play to make the people happy. We know how to play to make the people look at a person in the room. We know things to say for the Chiefs. We know things to say on the drum that's going to make people be like, okay, this party is over with, and now next thing is happening. But yeah, so it's not like it's playing.
Time to go home, y'all.
Exactly. No, absolutely. There's phrases that we play. We call that labang. So we have a rhythm called soli labang, soko labang. If you ever hear labang at the last of a rhythm, that means that's the last rhythm of the night. After this, it's no more.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
So there's certain phrases we can play at the end of when we know it's about to end. If I say kadang kadang kadang, kadang kadang, dagi dagi, grang grang, everybody know. Okay, and it won't be like that's it. It's gonna be like prang ding ding, prang prang. All right, let me get my purse. They done.
Let me check my phone. I cannot wait to see
It's
you.
the truth.
I can't wait.
That's why I always say, I say when I love it's a lot of amazing drummers in the United States, from Nicky, Deitch, Robert Spud Seawright, Chris Dave, Stanton Moore, Al Ford.
There's some.
I mean, the list goes on, and on. I mean, there's a lot of amazing drummers. But I always tell drummers in the West, it's nothing wrong with feeling what you're playing. It's like, when you say you feeling the music and you feeling the groove and you're feeling this, you're feeling that, it's different from saying you're feeling something. For me, I have a feeling and an emotion that I'm playing from, but I have an obligation I have to be able to speak for the people that this music belongs to. So that means I'm not just going to be playing, so what are you saying on this? I was going and, Spirit was telling me. Well, what Spirit? It's different for me because when I'm playing for the actual deity, they want us to do this. As the reading said, we play this, we do this. From today, we have to play this from this time. And then when they want us to stop, we'll find out. They will know once it leaves the room. So we know how to play for Spirit and how to work Spirit. Different than saying, oh man, I was feeling. I don't feel shit. It told me it's saying that because when you're sworn to the instrument, the work that you do before you even do the work that you have to do for the rest of your life is going to be the title of how you are going to be sworn. So you don't just be like, oh, I want to be sworn to the drum, so I'm going to start playing drums now. And then one day I get married to the instrument and then me and the instrument becomes one. No, there's a certain pedagogy, there's a certain protocol that you have to follow for that instrument to be able to say, you on this instrument are like this. Then from that, you have to realize that you as a musician and the priest or the chief or whoever's the spiritualist of that area are just as important as each other. You all are one because they cannot do it without you. Because you have the ashe on your head, you have the ayubo on your head, you have the nyama in your spirit, you have the yamakala in your heart. So when you're initiated to an instrument, you're sworn to an instrument both spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and physically, which means that there's work and certain things that has to be done for you to call Spirit down when you play.
Yes, the obligations must be fulfilled first.
If you don't, you're just up there playing a bunch of. That's the difference from playing what you feel and when playing. You remember the Karate Kid? I always talk about this. Remember Karate Kid 2? When Daniel's son had to fight Sutton, and then Mr. Miyagi told him, Daniel's son, this ain't for point. This is for real.
Yeah.
Every time I play in Africa, or if I play for a ceremony, I think of that moment because it's no longer playing for a bunch of screaming people. We love you. This is playing for what some like. You want me to come, huh? Because if I keep playing and I ask them to come and they come, or it comes, or when it happens, what are you going to do for them? Then you got to play for it. You're not playing for the people in the room. Mm-hmm. You're playing for it so it can work the room. That's a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
So when I tell drummers, will you play with me? Okay, yeah, we can have fun and trade and play like we play hopscotch and eat some candy and chips and cookies. But that's child's play. That's part one.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to go to the next level, be prepared for what comes with it. Are you even prepared to even be? Are you strapped? Are you protected? So whatever comes, you know how to move it when it hits you. But you won't be like, why am I feeling like this? Because
are you ready to be possessed?
Because when you know the secrets of it, drummer can never be possessed because we're the ones that calls it down. If a drummer get possessed in Africa, we're gonna say it's a joke. Because the idea is to play for spirit. Spirit don't come to the drummer and it hits them because who's gonna it won't stay. Spirit is like the drummer is the remote control with the battery. When you push on, is what comes through that remote control. That's spirit. When you when you take that cord and put it in the wall and it goes through all those circuits, what's inside of the circuit that makes the energy? What is the electricity is spirit. What you push is us. But once we ain't moving. The only time we will stop unless you do this, turn it off.
Plug it,
and
unplug.
By that time, they're gone. Yeah, that's all. I'm sorry, people. I can't get too deep. That's all I can tell you about that. Because now I know y'all like, what the hell is he talking about?
No, like I wanted to ask you about. I heard something about these rhythms. Who told me this? There's some Santeria rhythms or something that were always kept secret, and now they're coming out or something.
Let me tell you something. There are more people becoming babalaos and priests and practitioners in the traditional and Santeria, Ifa, Lukumi, outside of traditions who are foreigners or who are learning about traditions, which is beautiful. So now the secrets are out. You got to realize when people talk about magic, you got to realize there's a science to the universe, right? And that's something we all, E equals MC squared, right? There's a what's it called? A periodic table, right? We all agree that's that. Within the periodic table, you got to realize what makes the periodic table it. The science behind it. It's the science behind carbon. These are all natural resources that was created from the earth. What makes that is what makes the unseen work. And people don't realize that it is what it is because something created that so we can have it. It didn't just create on its own. So when we say that, when we do certain practices and traditions, we use certain things that can call spirit down because it gives us strength. So the unseen forces that you have the certain people who understand those things, you learn about the secrets of how to do quote unquote not even quote unquote the readings, which means that if someone needs to know what's happening and why X, Y, and Z is happening, you ask the shrine, you ask the deity, or you ask your babalao, the question, why is this happening? What's happening tomorrow? And if something's going to happen or when this is going to happen, they have those answers and you can get an answer. It's not like tarot cards. It's like, oh, touch this one. Oh, it says that you represent the snake. You know what I'm saying? No, I don't have nothing against it. I'm just saying that I'm not, and it could still be the thing. But from what my reality is, and from what I've seen, from Weedie's heart, from my circle, and from my reality, is that when you deal with certain things that have a certain formula from the earth, from the unseen, you ask it questions and you put it in your head, and it works for you. And it says, okay, blah, 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 blah. This is going to be blah, blah, blah. There's a big so-and-so is going to happen. If you want to change this, we must make a ebo. We must make a sacrifice for you for this. And then when we do this, 9 times out of 10, it won't happen. If you do the reading with the chicken and you throw the chicken there and it lands on his back and these type of things, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people be like, what kind of shit is this that you hear? You can say it's child's play. You can say it's fake. But because I live this, and when you hear me play and you're not just hearing music, that's just created in my mind. You hear my reality and my story. And all this is part of my story. So when you see these things, that's when you ask that question. There's a lot of unseen forces and things that are coming out because the secrets are being learned by people who want to see what it can do. And when they learn those things and they start the reality and the truth of it, then it starts going to people's like, well, I want to do this. And it's almost like, it's like being able to have water and just drinking out the well until the well has nothing else because it's replenishing everything. So we have to be very careful of how we speak and act when we're dealing with these folkloric ways of life, because spirit can haunt you and it can take you out. Good example. They have something called the annual reading in the Santeria tradition, right? In our Akan tradition, they have the same thing. So January the 1st, on the first day of January, right? They did the reading and they all was like, everybody in Nigeria, Benin, Nigeria, Brazil, they did the reading and folks was like, y'all see this shit? Y'all, what the hell? Everything is going to stop. What the fuck? It's over. Wait, there will be a stop. What the hell? It will be the biggest silence ever. And then somebody was like, did your reading come out the same? Yeah, it's going to be the biggest havoc and silence ever. Pandemic.
Wow.
Now, mind you, and I know if people's like, oh, that's that hooga booga. Is that much hooga booga that told babe? I bet you the same hooga booga that told us the time was going to stop. Had they stop at home working from their house with their kids going crazy.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that to say, I'm saying this to say is that there's codes to the universe that we don't really know about. And for the folks that don't know. So I tell drummers when they play that, you know, you can play what you feel, but it's always important to learn something to make you be able to speak. That's why people like Art Blakey, Max Roach, they play from a different place because they had tapped into something that I think in my heart that was close to what it was, but because it was like ancestral recall coming back, it hit them differently.
Idris, yeah.
Great example.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's why I want to learn this tradition from you, like go deep on it. So, because I feel it, I hear it, I'm playing it, but I don't know. I want to know all.
Yeah, but it is. It just takes us some time.
I know that rhythm that says it's time for everybody to go home.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You know, in the West, we have so many grooves. You know what I'm saying? We got so many grooves. You know, they got so many grooves, but grooves is great. But in West Africa, we don't have grooves. We have rhythms. We got rhythms. This situation, this da.
They're melodies.
And they're exactly in each country and each ethnic group. So if all of that is happening, that means that you have to understand either an ethnic group, pick an ethnic group, find out what rhythms they play, on what instrument, on what ethnic group, what instrument, what area, what style of playing they play, and the way they speak within the rhythm. Before we even say, well, I learned this rhythm, now I'm going to learn this rhythm for this ethnic group, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to learn this. So now you have all these different vernaculars, and you're mixing them all together because you learn so many rhythms. Find out the vernacular of the one language and the one ethnic group and the music before you move next. Because if you don't, you'll just be speaking like this.
I'm gonna study with you, man, soon. Dude, we want to keep you. And I got to go myself because I got a gig tomorrow and I got to leave early.
And you got to leave early and you got all that music. Well,
and I got to cram some music in my head. But, man, it's so good to see you. Everybody come out to the Blue Note.
I can't wait to shake your
6th,
hand.
right?
Thank you.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're going to have Otil with us, play a couple of tunes. You know what I'm saying? And it's going to be a great night for music. It's going to be an uplifting night. It's going to be a spiritual journey. It's going to be happiness, emotional. It's going to be the first time that I can say I'm back at the Blue Note after, well, you know, this is my third time back in the Blue Note. So, and I'm happy to have a legend like this with us on stage. So I'm honored.
Man, I'm honored and I'm psyched. So bless you, brother.
Man, old friend of mine.
All good
Good
things.
things and all good time.
Thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on the album once more as well.
Thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was wonderful. See you in a couple of weeks, Mike.
Yes,
Hell
can't
yeah,
wait.
man.
All right. Okay, OTL. See you soon, brother. Love you, man.
Love you.
Bye now.
Bye.
Gotcha.